Hey guys, David here, finally bringing you guys the video that I promised to do. Well, I didn't really promise, but I have a conscience, and for some reason I cannot get through any more time without doing this video. So in my Dark Knight Rises review, I said that I was going to do a separate video referring to spoilers, or at least things that I wanted to talk about, but it had to do with spoilers. So I couldn't talk about it in that video, so I kept that video separate. For those of you who have not seen the movie, you guys could watch my review there. But in this video, I will be referring to spoilers, so if you have not seen The Dark Knight Rises, which doesn't really make sense, then don't watch this video. But if you have seen it, or if you don't really care, then go ahead and watch it. So picking up from where I left, and I'm sorry if I look a little glossy, I just put water on my face to keep myself from keeping me getting warm. If you guys don't notice from my sound, I am sick, but I am fully recovering. I mean, days ago it was terrible, but right now I feel great. But I may not sound great. So, and also to keep myself from getting too warm, I splashed some water in my face, so that's why I look a little glossy. And if I sound a little to you, it's because I'm getting off a cold or a flu or whatever the hell it was. Also, in honor of the occasion, talking about The Dark Knight Rises, I got my Batman shirt. You can see it right there. Courtesy of one of my best friends. This was her birthday gift to me. Her name is Victoria. Thank you, Vicky. Once again, I love you. Uh, so anyways, back to the video. Where I'm gonna pick up from where I left off, which was the things that I did not like about the movie. And I talked about how the story or the plot wasn't as fleshed out as the Dark Knight was, in terms of all the, the corruption and the criminal cases and all that, and the very convoluted stuff. But you still understood, because later on there would be some closure. Here there wasn't that much of that. The next thing that I was going to talk about, that, like I said, I was about to, dive into spoiler territory, would have to be Alfred leaving. When Alfred said that he was going to leave, I was hoping that he wasn't going to be gone for the majority of the movie, and maybe he was going to be back for the climax and maybe help Bruce out in some way, shape, or form. But no, he's pretty much gone, and he literally comes back in the last scene of the movie, or at least the last 5 minutes of the movie. And it was just truly, let me back up the mic just in case. Okay. And it was just truly, I don't want to say saddening. I don't want to say that it tore down the movie very much, but it was disconcerting, considering that, a lot of people have said this. I would have to agree. Even Michael Caine himself said this, that Alfred is pretty much the cipher for the audience when it comes to the Christopher Nolan's Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. So to take him out, you kind of, as an audience, we're left there with Bruce going, so dude, what are we doing now? So my screen's going black here. Okay. So, it was a little uneasy to see Alfred be gone for the majority of the time, but on the bright side, his last scene before he leaves has got to be probably one of the most emotionally driven scenes from Chris Nolan's Batman trilogy, and one of the finer scenes that Michael Caine has delivered in terms of his performance. Moving on, I would have to say Bane becoming a henchman at the very end when the true villain is revealed, in the same vein, no pun intended, as Batman Begins. Who the villain who is being built up as the main villain turns out to not be the main villain, and the secondary villain, or at least a secondary character, turns out to be the main villain. Here, excuse me, Marion Cotillard's character, Miranda Tate, reveals to be Talia al Ghul, which I gotta say is very misleading, considering that Marion Cotillard said so herself that she wasn't going to be Talia al Ghul. So honestly, I'm a little bothered when they do that. I mean, it's okay to misdirect, but I'd rather just have you say, oh, excuse me guys, I'm sorry. I'd rather have you just say, I don't know, it's not up to me, I haven't read that part yet, or I haven't gotten to that part in the script yet, instead of just saying, oh, I'm not going to be that, and then you end up being that. It's just a personal pet peeve of mine. But anyways, when she gets revealed to be Talia al Ghul, Bane kind of gets pushed aside to the henchman. I mean, he's holding Batman while she's, I don't want to say monologuing, but in a way monologuing, saying, this is my plan, I'm fulfilling my father's work, and Bane is just there like a henchman going like, well, he's not really going, yes, yes. But it just looks like that's the thoughts that that are going through through his head, regardless of how I felt about Bane in earlier in the movie, because I thought he was a complete badass and Tom Hardy did a great job and he did that character justice. But during that last 15 to 20 minutes when Miranda reveals to be Talia and she becomes the main villainess, I just felt like Bane just got pushed to the role of henchman, and I wasn't too fond of that. Granted, it was a way smarter henchman than he was in freaking Batman and Robin. So there's a it's almost like there's a bright side to every bad thing of this movie. Like, oh well, at least there was this, at least this was that. It's that kind of movie. Um, Speaking of Bane, man, what a way to go out. I mean, and that's not a compliment. I mean, almost every villain that in the Nolan universe of Batman has gotten some sort of when they die, they got some sort of either recognition or just a lengthy death to make you go, oh wow, he's dead. When Harvey died, Gordon and Batman are over his body in a way, monologuing with each other. When Ra's al Ghul dies, again, he's immortal. He comes back in this one. Liam Neeson cameos as Ra's al Ghul once more, and Scarecrow never really dies because that's actually one of the best things of well, I guess there was no closure with Scarecrow, but if you guys have seen Dark Knight Rises, he has one of the greatest. Well, I don't want to say one of the greatest cameos, but it was a really nice cameo seeing him in this one, and I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty cool. I got a kick out of that one. But just Bane, the way Bane goes out, I was just like, really? That's it? Well, and like I said, you can't say that. I can't say that every villain goes out that way because look at the Ra's al Ghul imposter played by Ken Watanabe, I believe is his last name, in Batman Begins. The Asian guy with the mustache here who was pretending to be Ra's al Ghul, and he just goes out like that. But he wasn't being developed to be the main villain, whereas Bane was. And to just have Bane go like that, I was just like, really would have loved to have seen. In fact, it's something that I had in mind that I was like, man, it would have been awesome to have seen Bane die this way. Sounds kind of morbid, but it would have been awesome if Bane had the mask removed and we kind of see how his whole face looks like, which I'm guessing would be kind of yeah, mutilated, and his my from my using my artistic intellect, or at least any that I have to say that I would have loved to have seen Bane take off his mask, and then underneath he has like no lips and it's only like his teeth. And of course, if you remove, and of course this was before I saw the movie, so obviously it wasn't until the movie where I realized that the mask simply just keeps some sort of chronic pain that he constantly has away, rather than the venom from the comics. It is called Venom. Yeah, it is called Venom. I was about to call it Titan, which is the formula from Batman Arkham Asylum. But basically, before the movie, I was figuring that if there was a really badass way, or at least very memorable way for Bane to die, would have to be that his mask gets taken away somehow, and he's on the ground, and his muscles just start to like fade away, and he turns into like a really skinny, decrepit little body, and he's just like like I said, under the mask he has like no lips and just the teeth. He's just like wailing away just on the ground in pain until he finally dies. I would have thought that I personally believe that would have been way more effective than just go like Catwoman. So just the way he goes out, it just bothers me quite a bit. And I'm trying to think of other things. An original nitpick that I had after watching the movie would have to be that not only the way Bane dies, but just characters left and right were being axed off. I can't remember his last name, the character's last name, but the mayor of Gotham City, the guy with the eyeliner, goes out just like that after being somewhat of an important, well, not really an important character, but he had some important things uh, to be involved with in The Dark Knight, and he just goes out like that right here. But then I thought about it, I'm like, same thing happens with Commissioner Loeb, the black commissioner, the one who takes the drink, and that's how he dies in The Dark Knight. He lived in Batman Begins, but then he dies in The Dark Knight. Sorry if I called him black. I mean, I'm sorry. That's the only way. Oh god, that was terrible. But yeah, same thing here with the mayor. So I'm like, okay, that's not a bad thing. So some of the issues, there were a couple of issues in the writing I should tell you guys right here and then, right here and now, not then, that Christopher Nolan originally did not want to make a third Batman film. He actually wanted to leave after Dark Knight and let somebody else continue the trilogy with these characters or with this story. Maybe he was going to continue writing or just producing or both, but he wasn't exactly very invested in either writing or directing unless they had a story that they thought would have been a great capper, him and his brother Jonathan Nolan. And so, just so if it's very apparent that this one is a little weaker than The Dark Knight, I'm like, okay, I can't say I'm surprised because Christopher Nolan himself said that he wasn't interested in. At first, he wasn't interested in doing a third Batman film because he wasn't feeling as inspired. But after some time, he managed to come up with a story that he thought was formidable to end the trilogy on. Now, granted, like I said, maybe this had some sort of effect on the screenplay itself, and hence why we have some issues. One would be, there's some characters in there that I don't think should have been there. Maybe we cut them out. This movie would have been shorter, and it would just have one less stain. One character in particular would have to be that character who, I guess, inadvertently hires Bane in order to take over Gotham Enterprises. And just his character all around was just a very mustache twirling of a villain. I mean, I felt like he should have been in a James Bond film. And by James Bond, I mean, excuse me, I mean James Bond from 60s and 70s. Sean Connery, Roger Moore days. Because just the way he was delivering his lines. I mean, his performance wasn't exactly too bad, but I just like the way he was being written, and maybe it was the actor, because I can't. I mean, it's Christopher Nolan. I mean, do you think Chris Nolan would have directed him that way? Then again, Chris Nolan has stated in an interview recently, I can't remember how long it was, but he did say he was interested in a 007 movie. Not gonna. He's just saying he's interested in doing it. I would love to see a Christopher Nolan directed 007 movie. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. He just says that he's interested. Maybe that would have played part in the development of this character that was, like I said, very James Bond villainish. I don't know. As well as his, little slimy looking assistant, who, like, falls in the ice and whatever. And other problems with the writing will have to be some things that I looked at it and I'm like, I looked at them and I'm like, why is that there? I mean, that doesn't make sense. Things that either things that don't make sense. Sorry, my screen keeps going on dark. I have to change the setting there. Things that don't make sense, or things that just fix themselves too easily. The knee brace to instantly fix a leg that looks like it was broken years ago and is like beyond repair after all the years that he's been, out of the job as Batman, instantly fixed by a brace, and then boom, he's able to kick like bricks off a wall. Okay, and like I said, it bothered me. While watching the film, it didn't bother me. I saw it, I'm like, okay, cool. Then thinking back to it, I'm like, okay, what was that there? But at the same time, I start thinking about the things that I did love about the film. What else? Like I said, those are the things where things get as Jeremy, if you guys watch Jeremy Johnson's video, he calls them quick fixes. I would have to agree. Those are quick fixes. And just some other things that are just a little bit, like I said, illogical, at least for the context of the story, in terms of like how urgent is this thing that Batman needs to do. Like, for example, Bruce as Batman has to defeat Bane in the middle of the night, and he has to rescue Gordon, make sure that he's okay, make sure that Blake is okay. But before he does that, he has to grab several gallons of gasoline and paint them in a way that forms a bat symbol across the bridge. How long did it take him to do that? Was he able to instantly do that with the bat? Does the bat have a hose where you go and adequately paint a bat symbol? That way later on, by sheer happenstance, you'll run into Gordon right in the middle of the ice, give him a flare, and say, light it up in that exact location. Well, actually, the location may or may not have been too convenient, but the fact that Batman took the time out of his schedule to draw that, I mean, I understand that that people got to know that the bat is back for a good cause, but just the time it would have taken. I mean, just fix the bat signal, just like you do at the very end of the movie. That it shows right there being all fixed and everything, signifying that Bruce is okay, he's alive. You should have just done that. I don't know why you went along and just painted the whole bat symbol. I mean, that must have taken you hours. Another thing that bothered me is that this movie unfortunately suffered from some kung fu logic, in which there are one or two fights where I was going along with it. I'm like, all right, Batman's kicking ass. Those guys have guns, and they're not using them. I swear I saw one guy with a gun in his hand, probably fully loaded, going like this, trying to hit Batman with the handle of it. And Batman managed to catch him and hit him. And when he does that, there's a guy like in his far back right, going, okay, I'm gonna get him. Go. And if you guys are unaware, unknowledgeable of Kung Fu logic, it's the logic in which you got a group of guys versus one guy, and what do? They attack him one at a time. Yeah, I really did not expect that to happen in a Christopher Nolan film. Now, again, you can argue that the same thing happens in Dark Knight, and you may be right. There was one or two instances right there where I'm like, okay, I think there would have been some time there to shoot at least one bullet towards him. But at the same time, maybe there was, because there are a couple of fight scenes where you hear a bullet go off in the distance or in the background. But again, that's this movie. And in this movie, it was very apparent. And I saw it in IMAX, so I can't miss it. Not unless I'm sitting on the very front where I would have to, look left and right to actually look all around the entire screen. So yeah, that did not miss me, and it bothered me. It really did. Not just after watching the movie, but while watching the movie, I'm like, oh, why did that just happen? It was kind of bad. And honestly, that did take me out of the movie just a little bit, mainly because this is from Chris Nolan. So, other than that, I really cannot think of anything more bad to say. Those are all the negatives. I've already mentioned all of my positives in my official review, and I'm not gonna go ahead and re-review the movie. This video is long as it is. I guess the only thing that I can say to talk about to end this video is about the ending itself. And I do have some nitpicks about it, but at the same time, I'm glad how it ended. It's uplifting, and it didn't make me go. It does leave it open for Warner Brothers to continue the franchise, but it's very obvious that the ending, in a way, the ending spoke to me. The ending was Christopher Nolan's way to speak through the film and say, "This is it for me, for Batman. I'm done with Batman. Warner Brothers can continue making more Batman movies, or Nightwing movies, as the ending implies, or Robin movies." Which I gotta say, some people are bothered by the fact that John is Robin, and by Robin I mean his first name is actually Robin. To me, that didn't bother me so much because the entire movie he was being known as John Blake. So for him to pop out in the city, Gotham City, as Robin, doesn't bother me. I'm like, okay, that doesn't make any that doesn't bother me. The fact that he's actually named Robin. I remember somebody, a reviewer, say that his name being Robin and going out as Robin would be as him. It was Jeremy Johns's in Jeremy Johns's review, or no, his spoiler talk video. He said, and I quote, that him being called Robin and going out at night as Robin would be like him. His name is Jeremy, and he's going out at night to fight crime as Jeremy. And I thought that was pretty funny, and it makes sense. That quote makes sense. That analogy makes sense. But at the same time, like I said, this whole time he was being known as John Blake. It wasn't until the very ending when that lady had to look at his records and say, "Oh, his first name is Robin John Blake." So as long as he doesn't get he doesn't leave any fingerprints, he doesn't leave any evidence that could trace back to him, I think he'll do just fine going out as Robin. But at the same time, a little more, something that would have been a little bit better, something that would be a lot better would be to go out as Nightwing. That would be a much more logical direction to take in terms of if there is going to be a spinoff, because that would be a spinoff, not necessarily a sequel. And like I said, I was talking about the ending. It's Chris's perfect way of saying, I'm done with the franchise. So I love the ending. I love the ending montage. Uh, if I were to take some artistic, you know, direction, I would have said, in order to just show, in order to say, hey, I think Bruce is alive, but not actually show him being alive, I would have loved to just have shown, air conditioner turn on. I would have loved to have just seen Alfred look off into the distance, and when you hear doom boom 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 boom, and he starts to like smile, it would have just I would have loved that if it just cut there and have not shown Bruce or Selena there. I would have loved that because that would mean. Sorry guys, thought I heard something. All right. Pardon the intrusion. This is unedited through a webcam, so that may or may not happen. Should I make more of these? But anyways, I would have just loved it if it just cut off on Alfred's reaction without cutting back to that shot of them in the cafe, because it's a little too convenient, too like but. So I would have left it just cut off right there, and then cut to Blake in the Batcave. And I will say that my pickings, like I said, with the ending would have to be that in the end, none of the main characters who, excuse me, none of the main characters who, if they have had died, would have had a significant effect on us, such as Gordon or Bruce Wayne himself, based on what the trailers and the marketing was implying. They didn't. Plain and simple, it was implied that it looked like Bruce Wayne really was gonna die, and I was like, man, are they gonna go there? Is it really, like done? But then no, like, oh, yeah, Bruce is still alive. But at the same time, I wasn't like upset, like, oh, he should have just died. No, like I'm not upset. I'm glad to see him smiling in that cafe. But at the same time, I would have loved it even more if they didn't show that and they just showed they should have immortalized Batman by hinting that he was alive rather than just flat out show him in the cafe. Like I said, after I can't say that Alfred's reaction, Alfred's reaction just cut off right there. Preceding that was Morgan Freeman, Lucius Fox walking into the lab, and then the scientist telling him, "Oh, the autopilot got fixed like months ago," meaning Bruce Wayne fixed it. He was and chances are he was able to get out of the cockpit, out of the bat when the bomb exploded. So yeah, I do have some nitpickings, but they're mostly artistic nitpickings where I'm like, okay, me personally, I would have done it like this. Anyways, that is it for this video. Thank you guys for watching all 23 freaking minutes of it. I am so tired. My voice is almost gone, considering that, like I said, I've been sick for the past couple of days, and I am sweating like an animal. So, thank you guys for watching. Hope I can make more videos soon. Doubt it. Just remembered something before I wrap up. I am lucky to have been able to keep, from making this video up until now, because just today I heard some news, and they're not actually news, they're actually just rumors for now, so just take this with a grain of salt and don't get your hopes up, because there are some things that could play against this to make it not true. And that is that there is a rumor out there that the DVD and Blu-ray release of The Dark Knight Rises will feature Christopher Nolan's first ever director's cut of the film, or a film in general, because Christopher Nolan never does director's cuts. If he cuts something out, it's for a reason. If he does do a director's cut of The Dark Knight Rises, maybe this explains why some parts felt, a little rushed, or a little, like I said, the quick fixes. Again, maybe the quick deaths, Bane's outing, just like that, and what was the other thing that Alfred being gone for the majority of the movie? Maybe there's some deleted scenes where maybe he did come back, or maybe he's in another part of the world, having some form of contact with Bruce. I don't know. All I read, however, is that the rumor is that it'll be a director's cut. It'll have 30 more minutes of footage, which means that the original movie is 2 hours and 45 minutes. That would make the movie 3 hours and 15 minutes. Part of me is like, wow, that's a long time, and another part of me is like, Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King is 3 hours and 20 minutes. So there you go. Not to mention, subtract 10 of those minutes for the end credits. Almost all of Christopher Nolan's end credits sequences are like 10 minutes. So anyways, yeah, those are the rumors, and some of the footage, it's rumored that some of the footage will feature Bane's origin, so Bane's character will be much more developed. That could be either good or bad, considering that, like I said, if they keep that death, I'll be like, wow, that was all for nothing. But we'll have to wait and see. If I were to guess, I would say that Dark Knight Rises will see a release around late November, early December, based on the release date of the DVD and Blu-ray for Dark Knight. But who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. And again, this is just a rumor, not an official story, so don't take it so seriously. And again, Christopher Nolan usually doesn't do director's cuts, and if he cuts something, it's for a reason. And it's very doubtful that Warner Brothers actually told Christopher Nolan what to do. I mean, Warner Brothers knows better than that. Because at this point, if you don't know, Christopher Nolan is allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. At this point, with that kind of reputation. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and hope I see you guys very, very soon. Check you later.